The Brexit has been a dominating factor in this week's market. With us is Roger Bootle, founder and CEO of Capital Economics, to provide us with a deeper insight. Firstly, Roger, do you think the economic repercussions of leaving the EU will have a detrimental effect on jobs in the UK?
No, I don't. Now, obviously, there's a disagreement between different people on this, and the starting point isn't jobs, it's the overall strength of the economy. If Brexit were to lead to a weaker performance by the economy overall, then it almost certainly would have a detrimental effect on jobs. Now, eventually, that would, I guess, given the flexible labour market, come out in the wash, and we would end up with lower real incomes and probably the same level of employment. But the question is really getting at, is this going to hurt the UK economy? And I think ultimately the answer is no. There will be some short-term disruption. There already is. But I feel pretty confident that the net impact on Britain in the medium term can be favourable.
Is it highly likely the UK will be offered the trade deals that Norway and other non-member states have agreed to?
I think it's quite possible that Britain could be offered the same sort of deal that Norway has. And also it's quite possible that large parts of the British establishment, in particular the Foreign Office, would jump at the chance of accepting a deal rather like Norway's. But we have to be clear about what this is. It's a bit like being sort of 98% still inside the EU, in which case, of course, it would be a betrayal of the referendum vote that so many millions of British people turned out for. Because if you have the Norway deal, then you accept the bulk of the EU's rules and regulations, you accept free movement of people, and you continue to make a contribution to the EU's central budget, not that different from the one that Britain currently makes. I mean, if that's the deal, then what's all the fuss been about? Why have we gone through all of this to end up 98% still in the EU?
What is the atmosphere in London at the moment, considering the outcome of the referendum?
I think a lot of people are still shell-shocked. Of course, quite apart from the result of the referendum itself, the British political establishment is torn apart by the uncertainty about who's going to be leading the government and who's going to be leading the opposition, because the uncertainty isn't just about the government. Actually, the opposition Labour Party is also being torn apart too. So it's a strange situation. I mean, we all ought to be in the position of getting down to sorting out our relationship with the EU, what we're actually going to do, but so far we haven't really got down to that because we're deeply embroiled in the political battle. People on the street, people in the shops, well, it depends who you talk to, I guess. Some people are relieved and indeed enthusiastic. Others, the Remainers, are despairing and dismayed. The worst of the possible reactions that might have happened, they haven't happened. I mean, the stock market fell initially and then recovered. The pound fell, but seems to pretty much have stabilised. I don't think people are as worried as they were immediately after the vote, but it's a very unstable time.
How long do you think it will take before Article 50 is invoked?
I don't know how long it'll take to invoke Article 50. I mean, I'll be very surprised if anything happens before we get a new leader and chancellor, and that's supposed not to be before the beginning of September. So we could have to put up with this interim unsettled period for a few months yet, and then after that, I guess the new Prime Minister and Chancellor will have to talk to colleagues and advisors about what we should do, what the approach should be. And it's possible, I suppose, fairly soon after that we could invoke Article 50. It's possible we won't even bother to invoke Article 50. That's to say, we could go straight simply to repealing the European Communities Act. And it's also possible that Britain won't get involved in the possibly drawn-out negotiating period that's envisaged under Article 50, because there's quite a considerable movement in Britain to effectively declare unilateral free trade, so that we don't seek trade agreements with the European Union, or indeed with anybody else. We just decide to trade with the rest of the world on a tariff-free basis, which is, my understanding, is exactly what New Zealand has done. And if that were to be the case, then Article 50 wouldn't be the big deal that it might otherwise would be. There'd be things still to sort out, like the position of British nationals living in the EU and the EU nationals living in Britain, but it wouldn't be a case of going through industry by industry by industry and negotiating some sort of deal.
Thank you, Roger Bootle, for joining us. That's all from myself, Celeste Skinner. Be sure to keep checking back in for all the latest market updates.